Hi, I'm Marilyn Palmer.
And I'm Teresa Hirschberg.
Usually you find me on LinkedIn talking about marketing and social media and videos and everything else, but I wanted to talk to you about coffee chats and also why they're very important. This particular coffee chat inspired me to start a video series called A Woman's Story. How many women out there have faced incredible odds and picked themselves up, dusted themselves off, and started something, even in the field of what happened to them, whether it was trauma, whether it was an accident, whatever. This woman, Teresa, inspired me to do this. Teresa, would you mind giving people a little bit of your story?
Thank you, Marilyn, and
You're
thank you for
welcome.
having me. Um, I have worked in social services in Toronto for a little over 30 years, and my passion really has been working with marginalized folks, both men and women, but a lot of work with women that have been through insurmountable odds in their life, and have been working towards healing, and in some case reintegrating back into the community. So a quick little blurb. Um, I've worked for over 30 years with women who have faced insurmountable trauma. That could be witnessing community violence or sexual or physical trauma, medical trauma, intergenerational trauma, women coming out of the incarceration system, whether that be federal or provincial, women that have been survivors of sex trafficking, women that have experienced homelessness, domestic violence, and gender-based violence.
Unbelievable. See, this is why I started this, because I would stand, but I'd be out of frame. I stand in awe of women like you. And I want to get this message out so much and so frequently. And I know it's out there, but it needs to be yelled from a mountaintop and pick a mountain. But it does. And I'm standing here gobsmacked because women like you, and I want this whole series, and I hope it is a series that explores women at their worst and women at their best, and we empower each other, we don't tear each other down. And if we can help one woman sit there and say, that
Mhm.
was me now, then, no, that was me, that's me now,
Yeah,
and she's done this, incredible. I have to get into the legalese here for a second.
of
I
course.
am not a therapist. We're not lawyers.
No.
We are not, we don't run women's shelters. If you are needing something like that, please pick up a phone and call
Mhm.
a professional. You
Mhm.
talked to me about sharing
Mhm.
stories of recovering and trauma, and I'd like to get into that a little bit more, because you said
Sure.
through significant evidence-based research, it is understood that retelling details of traumatic events can re-traumatize a woman.
Yeah. Yeah, often, I mean, it really is quite complicated, Marilyn, but in a nutshell, when we're reliving the details, so for example, if I was to be sharing the intricacies of traumatic events in my life, what happens is that neurologically, we actually can relive the experience. So I find that the sharing of stories is very, very powerful and very supportive of one another as women, but it's something that we do need to be mindful of in shows like this, that we're not digging too deep and bringing the individual back to the traumatic event so that they're re-experiencing it.
Wow, wow.
Mhm.
As I've heard some in some cases, well, you should tell your stories as much as possible. And I've always wondered, well, if you keep on doing it, do you, and this can, I'm not a therapist, so do you actually, like, does it help you or does it hinder you?
Again, I think it's really complicated, but trying to touch on the tip of it. Um, I mean, I think that, as you were saying in legalese, I would encourage women that are perhaps going back to traumatic events that they haven't explored or healed from to really do that with a professional and in a professional environment um, where they do have um, pieces in place to support them in that journey. Because what can happen is that, again, when we're reliving the stories, if an individual, if a woman doesn't have the things in places that she needs to remain safe, it can, for example, it can re-trigger old coping mechanisms. It can actually bring back feelings of distress and despair, and suicidal ideations. It can at times result in a woman resorting back to perhaps older coping mechanisms where they don't necessarily want to be now and where they perhaps aren't now. It could be substance use, it could be dangerous and risky activity, shopping aholics, binging on food. But we have many different coping mechanisms, and we just want to make sure that we're aware of how deeply we're diving and in what environments we're delving into those stories.
You talk about why share stories of women in a public domain. You say in sharing stories of women's challenges and triumphs, it's not, systemic.
Mhm.
Can I speak? Barriers, we can empower one another. And that's what this whole thing is all about, is empowering one another, healing,
Mhm.
um, having strength and resilience and skills. When you say skills,
Mhm.
what do you mean?
Well, I'm trained in something called dialectical behavioral skills teaching. And I'll just give you quickly the four domains. There is distress management, emotional regulation, mindfulness, and interpersonal effectiveness.
Mhm.
And often we're not really taught to cope with our feelings, with our experiences. We get to learn math and we learn English, and but we're not often taught to cope with our feelings, with our thoughts, um, and how we respond to things. So, as an example, emotional regulation is a skill set, a number of different skill sets that bring to light for us the importance of filling our cup every day, I think, would probably be the
Okay.
easiest way of saying it, but doing so in an extremely intentional way. So, as an example, let's say that I'm going out to the park and it's a beautiful day out, and I'm sitting, I'm enjoying nature, I'm enjoying the trees, I'm enjoying the breeze, but really allowing myself to intentionally sit in those feelings of comfort and safety and intentionally using that to fill up my reservoir.
Oh,
Be
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, just one more little addition
No,
there
go
because
ahead.
often in this world, it's not easy. It's a very difficult place for many of us.
Oh, put up your
Um,
hand, girlfriend, I've gone through that this entire blessed week about trying to be intentional. Yes. Okay.
yeah, and what can happen to us, and sometimes we're not even aware of it, is that we're filling up energetically and psychologically. We are filling up often with negativity and stress. And when we're not aware of it, it actually plays out in different ways in the brain neurologically and also emotionally. So emotional regulation allows us to put skills into place every day to increase our resiliency.
I would like to have you back on
Mhm.
at least 3 times, because while you're talking to me about the resiliency and the skills and everything, I have a ton of questions. For example, where did you learn this? How can you kind of like teach, if you wanted to, somebody to do this? Look, I've gone through since 2013 personal coaching and business coaching. And the
Mhm.
personal, they always talk about it, setting intentions every morning. Okay. Journaling,
Mhm.
because it gives you clarity and it gives me clarity. Okay. And also meditation.
Mhm.
Not meditation where you think your body's gonna come out of your body. You're gonna do the
Yeah.
transcendental out of your body meditation, but just sit
Mm.
back and be quiet. Let your mind become quiet. And I find, like, since 2013, I've been doing that. Prior to that, I didn't know anything about this. And when you say, you're filling up your cup, my cup was overloaded with negativity.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
And I wasn't becoming the person I wanted to be, and I wasn't getting the business that I wanted to get. And I'm like, something's blocking me. And talking about trauma, during all of this journey that I've been on,
Mhm.
2022, I had an aha moment.
Okay.
And I went, why am I attracting this type of person? Or why am I attracted to this type of person?
Mhm.
And I found out that the trauma that I had when I was 2
Mm.
was the reason. That's how far back it went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I believe that every woman out there that has had experience, and it's not a competition like my trauma is better than your trauma or bigger or more important. It was just a slight little, and I'm thinking, if it was a slight little thing, when you have like today on LinkedIn, there was a woman that talked about seeing her father almost kill her mother. Mine was slight at 2, and it became a habit that wasn't a great habit. It wasn't like bad habit, like a really bad, but it wasn't a great thing. I mean, I was attracted to narcissists, the worst kind of narcissists, because of something that happened to me too. And I think that talking about this will help somebody, anybody just go, hey, you know what? Maybe I should invest in, a life coach or a business coach, or listen to people that have gone through it. Whatever, it can be as raw as somebody wants it to be. I'm not going to stop women that I hope follow this show and want to be a part of it, talking about their trauma. I'm certainly not going to ask them to re-traumatize themselves either. Because after talking to you about, you can reactivate unhealthy behavior because of it. I don't want to get into that. I want to stop now because I don't want to go blathering on like I normally do, and people are going to go. So I would love for you to say the last thing that you wrote to me on what you wanted to talk about.
I'll be honest with you. I don't have it in front of me, but that's
Okay, I'll
okay
do it.
because, pardon me?
I'll do it. So
Oh, I was gonna
Teresa,
say, but I can just say it from my heart.
oh, can you? Go ahead.
Yeah. There is hope. There is the building of resilience, and there is a way to heal ourselves and to participate in various ways in the healings of others through love, genuine empathy, and compassion. I really, really feel deep in my heart. I know in my heart that that is part of the answer, Marilyn. A big part of the answer. Compassion for ourselves and for others.
Oh, goosebumps. I'm going to read what you said. You are not alone. There is hope.
Yeah.
There is courage and resilience that can be built, as you say, with support, compassion, empathy, and love. And on that note, I would like to thank you, Teresa, for coming to my first show.
Thank you.
And we're going to be back together again. And I would thank everybody that's listening to this, and thank you for joining us on A Women's Story. I'm Marilyn Palmer, and
And I'm Teresa Hirschberg. Thank you for having me, Marilyn.
thank you for joining us.